Hey guys, welcome back to the Occam's Razors Untitled podcast. My name is Diego. I forgot to introduce myself last episode, but I'm here once again with my lovely, beloved sister, Diana.
Hey.
And we also have a very special guest. We have our friend, our beloved friend too, Simon, who's here with us.
Hello.
So as we mentioned last episode, we were going to start talking about dialogue and character development. Actually, before we get into it, Simon, do you want to just briefly introduce yourself if you want to? That is not going to force you.
I'm Simon. My favorite anime is One Piece.
Of course.
The Book of Gods, of course.
Book of Gods. And was that a movie or TV show?
No, that's what I call it. It's the
That's what he calls One Piece.
TV show. The best TV show is Peaky Blinders.
Did you watch Peaky Blinders? You
Yeah.
never mentioned this.
Yes.
That's a really good show.
Yeah.
That's the best show. Best movie has to be.
Lord. I'm scared.
The best movie is Wall-E.
Okay.
Wall-E. Oh, okay. All right.
Repping the shirt today.
But that's Simon. He'll just pop in here and there, but it's just mostly going to be me and Diana just conversating like last episode. But yeah, let's just get into it. Starting off with you, Diana. You as the product of consumerism.
For real.
What do you consider as good dialogue in movies, TV shows, video games, anime, whatever?
I think like something that can make you like feel, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something that can make you feel, because I feel like it also depends on voice actors though. Like if we think about it, right? It depends on the actor too, the way they deliver the line.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't deliver it in the way that's supposed to make the audience like feel touched, ew. the way the audience is supposed to feel touched, or like kind of bring something out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't deliver it right, then it's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the writing in itself, dialogue, yeah, it has to work.
Yeah.
It has to work to get the message out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that I agree with that as well. I think the most important thing, and from a writing standpoint, when it comes to dialogue, is that it has to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the listeners who have written something before, or like written stories, they know that at the central, besides the story and the theme and all that, what carries a story is the characters,
Yeah.
and what comes with it is the dialogue.
Yeah.
And so it makes me cringe whenever we go see a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dialogue is very it's like what you mentioned yesterday. It's hip, like the
Yeah, like when they're trying to cater it to, like let's say Gen Z, where they just kind of make their dialogue like cringy because they want to fit in, but it's like just be normal,
Mhm.
you know, like how I said yesterday. Yeah, but no, I was gonna bring up I wanted to look at the script for after, but there's no signal in here, guys.
It'd be like that.
There's no signal, but I wanted to look it up because that dialogue is so cringy and awkward, and the lines don't make sense because they just say like a couple words to each other, and then we're just supposed to be like, oh, I feel sad.
Mhm.
But when their dialogue is like, no, don't go. Like, bro. And then also, I was gonna bring up the Tobey Maguire movies because I feel like the dialogue is so cringy for most of the movies.
I think that the product of the Tobey Maguire movies, the Spider-Man Tobey Maguire movies, it's definitely dated a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, and it's also, again, it can be cringy as well.
Yeah.
But what about it that made you cringe? What movie made you cringe specifically from the dialogue?
Like the third one.
It's the
The
best
third one, the second one, the first one. I feel like they don't say much. Like I think they don't say much, but the words that they do use, it's like it could be longer. It could be like, more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's just in the like actions. Like maybe what's his name? Sam
Raimi?
Yeah, there you
Mhm.
go. Yeah, maybe he just wanted like the actions to speak more than the words, which makes sense because there's some scenes where it works like that.
Yeah. And I think what also comes within the beauty of dialogue is the ability to, well, in books, it's a bit harder to like show, don't tell, because people have, they're reading something, But in movies, TV shows, video games, the dialogue is sometimes the other piece of dialogue is showing and not telling what the person is feeling, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the examples that come to mind is from the God of War game, the 2018. Knowing, like, for those of you who have played the God of War games, it's just basically about this dude, this demigod. It's from Greek mythology. He transitions to this new world and all this, and he carries a lot of weight. And I think there's these I think there's been a couple of scenes where he's just reflecting on the scars he's had on his hands, and then just by him just looking at his hands and just feeling it, it tells so much about what he's feeling at the moment or what he felt, when he was suffering during that time.
Yeah.
But I feel like that also makes good dialogue, showing, not telling.
Yeah, okay, so I see what you mean. Like, dialogue can't only just be words, it can be, like, actions, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Simon, what do you think?
Yeah, since your favorite movie is Wall-E.
Exactly,
there's no words in there. There's a little bit,
It's
but
literally about two robots.
yeah, it's two robots.
What do you think about dialogue, Simon?
Wally's dialogue is showed through what he sees after the world had corrupted, through all the films he watches, and that one song he plays in his little studio.
Oh.
Yep. And that just helps him, like, basically find. He learns what love is through that video.
Jeez.
And he shows that with Eve and watching it with her while she's passed out.
Mm-hmm. Is that why it made it your favorite movie because of what it showed and stuff like that?
Yeah, just Wall-E in general is one of the best movies in the world.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's yeah.
I mean, I feel like in animated movies, it could be, like, a good competitor to other movies.
I watched a YouTube video about this where they said that animation is the highest form of art that we as humans have ever created, right? Because we're literally making like a art move, right?
Yeah.
It's just beautiful whenever animated characters can also replicate at like real life movies, right? So like yeah, exactly.
Because when you're watching Wall-E, you have to kind of just look at his facial expressions. You know?
Exactly.
Because you could see it in Wall-E's eyes when he downturns them or makes them a little bit higher.
Or I think even goes to like when people wear like helmets.
Oh, okay.
What were you gonna say?
That made me think of the way Spider-Man's mask, like the new one, how it made it better for his dialogue. Because you see the reactions in his eyes, right? When he says stuff. And then when you go back to like Andrew and Toby, they have like a stale, what do you call it?
It's just
A still face.
Yeah.
They have a still face because their masks weren't like developed like that back then. So like dialogue was kind of harder because that's why they like did so much like
movement.
Yeah, movement with their arms when they talked. Yeah, I noticed that when I was rewatching the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I was like, oh, he does do like a lot of hand movements because he can't express like his words in his face. Yeah, in his eyes.
I was gonna say that like people who are like masked. I was gonna mention Star Wars.
Oh.
Because I think with Darth Vader, right? Like if everyone knows like the story of Darth Vader, right? And by just looking at his face and when he talks, people can just tell what he's feeling, you know? I think when we watched the Obi-Wan movie, right? Show. There's this one scene where he's just looking out into space, right? And then you could just tell on his face that like he wants to find Obi-Wan, right? And he's angry about it, right? Or even when we watched the Return of the Jedi like a couple years back, where he was just talking to Luke, right? And you could just see, like, you don't have to see his face to know what he's feeling, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so that is, like, the second dialogue, basically. And I think, also, when it comes to dialogue, I think where you're writing your story, whatever world, fantasy world, current timeline you're living in, whatever, it also matters how you speak, right? And I think, again, like, another example I've seen from that is, like, the Cyberpunk game, right? Like, it's based here in the Earth and stuff like that, America and all that, but obviously things have changed and all that type of stuff. But the way that they talk is very, very unique to the world, right? Like, they use terms like chumba, chum, nova, right? Yeah. Those are terms that we do not use, but they use, and it's normal to them, and it makes us feel immersed in their world. Yeah, because it's cool. And I think a lot of animes do that too as well, where you're creating something from scratch. So a lot of things that you create in anime has to like, it's all fantasy, right? So there's things you gotta make things up and then make characters, the way they talk has to be set in that world, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many phrases, I bet, in One Piece that are just unique to them.
Well, yeah, their whole like power system is their own thing, like having a devil fruit and what it does and how it becomes a devil fruit is just One Piece's thing. And well, you could say hockey, but not really because they kind of took that from, I think, Hunter x Hunter. It's called Nen in Hunter x Hunter, which empowers their own movements. And in One Piece, the hockey also empowers their own movement and their durability and stuff like that. So some animes just take from others and turn them into their own form.
Yeah, Yeah.
Of like still on the topic of dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
bro. The Avatar live action,
Mm-hmm.
the Netflix show.
What about it?
Just like speaking the internal dialogue out loud instead of showing it. You know, like you know how it's the big. You don't know because you didn't watch Avatar, but you know how that's just like the whole problem with it. That like he kind of says what he's feeling, but he doesn't show it, or you know they don't really give time for it to like sink in. They're just like
They don't let that sink in.
they don't let that sink in. But yeah, it's just
I think it's a good transition too to like talking about what makes dialogue bad, right?
yeah.
And it's definitely what you said, like you're telling, not showing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who did watch the live action Netflix,
Did
live
you
action-
finish it?
I did not finish it.
I didn't finish
did
it either.
The moment you stopped watching, I stopped.
Yeah.
I just watched videos of like what happens in the show, right?
Okay.
A common complaint I've seen is that they literally tell the audience what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And it's annoying because like I mean yeah, every once in a while like it's okay for like the character to tell what they're feeling, but if it's so consistent, like literally like in the first episode where Aang literally tells the audience
I
what
just
he
want to be a boy.
I just like
I'm not ready for this.
exactly like it feels it's frustrating.
One adaptation that did go right was the One Piece one. I've never seen the One Piece animated show, but I really like that, like the live action one. You know, so that's something that should happen, right? Because you lead like a fandom who wants to watch the live action into that animation, like the animated one. And I feel like for it went reverse, you know, like for this one, like everybody liked the Avatar one. Everybody liked the Avatar one and not the live action one.
Mm-hmm. So you think what made with the live action One Piece was like just first of all writing the dialogue right, and also not dumbing down the audience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what the live action Netflix
Yeah.
Avatar did. It
Yeah.
kind of dumbed down the audience, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also comes with writing stories when it just don't treat your audience dumb.
Yeah.
You know, like Pixar movies, right? The reason why Pixar movies are loved by both children and adults is because they don't treat them any less, you know, compared to like Illumination. So again, right, where most of their movies are just again they're mainly targeted towards kids, and that's the main demographic, and they kind of just ignore the adults, right?
Yeah.
Which makes the adults suffer because again they can understand what's going on, not the kids, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what else was I gonna say about dialogue?
Well, what do you think makes bad dialogue, Simon?
Oh yeah, Simon. What do you think makes bad dialogue?
I think it will just be like character development in a way. Like you can't just throw a character in there and give no background story or how they act and like why do they act like that. Like bringing it back to One Piece, they have perfect character development, and even when they throw a random enemy in there, they give a background story on him. Like
So you think like the dialogue in One Piece is so like perfect, right? So perfectly curated to like their backstories and like who they are as characters. Is that what you're kind of what you're saying? Or
yeah.
It's true.
Do you think so with One Piece, right? The anime, based on how Oda writes the characters and the way they talk, it's all everyone stands out as their own, right? Like no one's like the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody's the same. That's why Luffy's crew is such a diverse crew because they all have their own roles like every other crew. And they specifically picked those characters to join his crew because they all have their own specialties.
I think that's a good transition too. Well, yeah, it's a good transition. Just to end off with the bad dialogue part.
Yeah.
Was like if you're gonna write a cast of characters, right? Like an ensemble group of characters, you need to make sure that they each stand out as their own. You know, no one should like talk the same. No one should like act the same because if you do, then everyone is just like a bland slate. You know, there's no sauce.
Yeah.
You know, to them. You know, like and with One Piece, like everyone feels different. They all look different. They all dress different, but they also act, talk, you know, feel
Yeah,
differently.
everybody's got their own personality.
Yeah, and, like-
give your character a personality.
Exactly. Like that's why so many beloved shows, TV shows, video games, movies, whatever, they all are loved because of the characters and how much of them are all just different. You know. I think that's a good way to like end off the bad dialogue and
Yeah.
a good transition because Simon mentioned earlier character
Character
development,
development,
which is
the title of this episode.
the second part of our episode, character development. Let's start off with Simon because he kicked off the dialogue part. Yeah, Simon, what do you think makes a good character? Let's start off with that.
A good character shows like able to grow with the show. So like you don't just start off with just an OP character.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you start off with a weaker character,
Mm-hmm.
and like throughout the episodes you go along their journey, showing how they are growing and such, and like how the different people the main character encounters will help them grow.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah, passing it on to you.
No, I think that's right. I think it's kind of like the journey, you know? It's the journey.
The hero's journey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the journey of the character is what makes it good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Whenever I wrote a story for the Occam's Razors issues, I wanted to make sure that the character was at the entry level, if that makes sense, you know, and that as the reader reads more, they, you know, the character goes up, you know, like they're starting at the bottom. At the end, you're like, okay, like their character has gone so far from where they first started off, right? And I think like the greatest TV shows, movies, all that type of stuff, the reason why they're hailed as the greatest is because the main character started off somewhere and they ended up somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Talking about Breaking Bad, right? Like,
oh, definitely Breaking Bad. I think Breaking Bad is like a good example of
it's the perfect example, essentially,
of how it started and how it ended.
Exactly. Walter White, you know, starts off as just a regular chemistry teacher. He's down on his luck. You know, he's broke.
He's got cancer.
And then where the show ends off, not giving spoilers to those who haven't watched Breaking Bad.
Oh, we should actually, like, for this part, there probably is going to be so many spoilers.
Okay, so
we definitely should give them, like, a second. So, spoiler, 1, 2, 3.
Walter White ends up dying, and how he got there was because he just became a chemist, and he went through that journey of being the what's it called, the kingpin of the drug, you know, world, and within, like, what is it, New Mexico, whatever
Albuquerque,
whatever they live in. Yeah.
Well, he expanded by the end of the season, right? Wasn't he selling, like, other places too?
I think in the beginning of, like, what was it, the 6th season, he was already distributing. He already had a network, essentially, right? And then towards, like, the last episode, obviously, it's like he no longer is the kingpin anymore, whatever, like that. But that's, like, the perfect, like, where he's ended up and where he started out as, right? And it also includes with Jesse too, right? Because Jesse was just a nobody, and that by the end he was off in his own journey, and like El Camino, whatever. And again, it goes back to Jimmy, Better Call Saul. Each one of these characters,
they all had a journey.
They all had a journey.
Yeah.
They didn't end up at the same place, you know. They ended up somewhere different, whether they were dead, whether they were in jail, whether they were just free, you know. But I think that's the best example. What's the best example you've seen of a character?
You already know.
I don't know.
Oh. Well, my favorite character development is Clementine from The Walking Dead. Oh, well, I mean, I could talk about both, like Lee and Clementine, but I just feel like Lee, he had like a huge impact on the first season, and I feel like I don't know if everybody agrees, but I feel like he was the reason why the franchise, and Clem, but he carried that first season, because I feel like everybody after, you know, spoiler, 1, 2, 3, like after Lee died, like everybody was really into the Telltale games. Like everybody was playing, you know. Yeah, I don't know, because like how we're talking about, like, you know, different from where they started and where they ended. Lee, he started in a police car. You know, he was going to jail because he killed someone, and he was feeling unloved, lonely. His family he wasn't even talking to his family, right? And then I don't know if you guys know The Walking Dead, but it's basically like
it's a post-apocalyptic zombie world.
Yeah, zombie world. And the first season's about this guy finding this little girl, and they kind of just meet people along the way that help them survive. And shoot, Simon.
You lost train of thought.
Yeah, why'd you do that, Simon?
Why'd you do that, Simon?
He was trying to lick the microphone. But
I do not do that.
Yeah, so he was starting off with, like, he was unloved, lonely, right? And then when you look at Clem's story, she was also left in her house alone, scared. Probably the same way as Lee, right? And they find each other, and the way Lee ends his story by helping a little girl, you know, survive on her own, taking care of her while her parents were gone. I feel like it just redeemed his actions. Well, murder is bad, but like the way he was feeling, it kind of felt like, you know, Lee redeemed himself. You know, he felt like a good person at the end of the story. You know, yeah. And then also to bring up dialogue, that ending scene in season 1, that was so perfect. I like the way it ended.
Yeah, I think it just goes like hand in hand too, right? Where this is the moment where this is kind of why we wanted to talk about both character development and dialogue, because they both connect to each other, right? And whenever an author wants to write a scene, like the death scene of, you know, Lee, or like the scene where Walter confesses to Skylar why he did what he did, right?
Yeah.
Those moments are earned because of how what the character went through, and also what they're feeling at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So like again, like in Breaking Bad, when Walter confesses to Skylar, like he did what he did because he just loved doing it, right?
Yeah.
It feels earned because like while the audience kind of knows why he was doing it, like there was like, yeah, sure, he says that he was doing it for the family, but the audience knows that there's like another reason why he's doing it. When he finally confesses it, it feels like a relief off our shoulders and also Skylar's shoulders, because it's like, okay, he admitted it. Like he admitted he did what he did.
Yeah, and with like Lee, like you can tell like he feels a responsibility to take care of Clem. And when she ends up finding that like picture of them broken, she asks like what happened, right? And he basically says like, oh, I was a bad man, right? And you could tell that like he eases into being like, oh, I could be a father figure for her. I am to protect her. I am here to be good, you know? Like there's a side of me that, you know, that needs to take care of her.
Yeah, like these moments are earned in like when it comes to writing, and the author has to work towards it, you know? You can't just immediately write a death scene for someone we hardly really know, like they've been through anything, and like especially the dialogue is crappy, because if all of that is mixed together, like the product is not going to turn out as good. It's not going to be well received. What about you, Simon?
What's the best character development you've seen in a show, movie, or anime?
What I was just thinking about was Light Yagami from Death Note.
Wait, which one's that one?
Death Note is the one where he has a book from a Shinigami.
Didn't you read that?
And
wait, Light is the monster guy, or the guy who has the Justin Bieber hair?
Justin Bieber hair.
Okay. Because I forget who that is.
No, because the dude is Ryu, right? That's the demon.
Oh, okay, that's the demon.
Come on, I barely know Death Note.
I forgot. I don't know which one is in Light.
Okay, continue, Simon.
But he basically starts out the story as like being bullied and stuff. And he finds the Death Note, and he wants to take away all the evil from the world and all the bad guys. But as the story goes on, he actually turns into the evil. He starts killing random people, and he turns into the villain himself in something that he wanted to take away from the world.
He became what he hated, basically.
Yeah, he just became what he hated.
Bro,
and that's good for villains.
That's good for villains, indeed.
And just characters that like kind of start off with like they have nothing and they gain something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that potential of like where your character, like let's say your character's working towards something and they finally get it. I think it's fun as a writer to then decide, okay, what would this character do with this thing, right? Let's say, for example, Magneto, right? From the recent X-Men 97 show, right? His origin story is that he was a Holocaust survivor, and when he gained his magnetic powers, he was like, okay, well, I am not going to be at the mercy of men anymore. I am going to use these powers to liberate my people, right? Because he's already seen what happened when, you know, someone decides to exterminate a whole race, right? So he's not going to do it because, you know, in the world of the X-Men, mutants are very discriminated against. You know, he uses his power to be like, okay, well, I'm going to do what I can to save these people, whatever the cost is, right? And, like, that's good writing because what we saw in the X-Men show, you understand his point of view. And I feel like this goes to villains, too, right? If you're trying to develop a really good villain, you have to really make the audience understand, like, why the villain is doing what he's doing. In some cases, like, you know, obviously if you want to write a villain to just be straight up evil, that requires also like good writing because, you know, you don't want to make your villain look like a punk ass bitch.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's a good example of what Simon brought up, because I was also thinking like what I told you earlier, like Electro. like from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Guys, he literally, I forgot, what's his name though? You guys remember his name?
You
That's
say it's
crazy. That's crazy because literally in the movie, nobody remembers his name, and I can't remember his name.
You're literally saying he's your favorite villain, and you don't know his.
Okay, wait, I don't know his real name.
It's Max. It's Max.
Okay,
Dillon.
Max. See,
Max
I knew
Dillon.
it. I literally thought of it right now.
Okay. Continue.
I was gonna say he meets Spider-Man, right? He meets Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like, "Oh, you're my eyes and ears of this town. Like, stay vigilant." And he's basically ignored everywhere he goes. Every time someone remembers his name, he's like, "You remember me?" Like he's like questioning within himself, like, "Oh, someone finally sees me." He just wants somebody to see him, right? And then when he gets his powers, he's confused because he's like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on with me." He's genuinely concerned, right? He's not thinking of anything bad. But then when he sees that now the whole world can see him, like he has people's attention, he's like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna do bad things." You know, like he kind of turns, you know, like, "Oh, I can do anything." You know, everybody's fucked me over, like I can fuck him over too. You know, yeah.
So you do you think like that's what makes a good villain then?
Yeah, like, just like
Understanding them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Simon?
Well, the come from nothing villains are a very good type of villain because you actually get to feel how they felt. Because most of the time they give the backstory. And a villain that I was thinking about was like from the Joker movie, the real one.
The Joaquin Phoenix one?
Yeah, the Joaquin Phoenix one.
Joaquin.
Yeah, like everybody like doesn't like him and like he gets bullied and like, stuff like that.
I forgot about that movie.
And like he basically just snaps. He snaps and he kills that little midget and the big guy.
The way, because that's the moment where he finally becomes like the Joker, right? And then that uneasiness of the way he's talking to the midget after he killed the dude, and like you're like really sure if he's gonna kill him too, right? It's that writing and that point of where the character reached where it's like, man, like I am so like what's gonna happen next, right? If you can keep the audiences on the edge of your seat of what your character is gonna do next, like I feel like that's when you did a good job.
That's okay.
I swear.
You already know what I'm gonna say.
I swear.
Nah, because you already know what I'm gonna say. That's why Homelander is so good. I can say it right now. That's why Homelander is so good. Because we would literally be sitting there watching the seasons, and I would be like, "Oh my god, Homelander is gonna find them. Oh my god, Homelander is gonna beat her up. Homelander's gonna do this and that." Like Homelander is genuinely scary. Like he's a character to be feared, and if you can write a character like that, that's pretty fucking good.
Yeah. And you know what, actually talking about like characters who like are scary, like let's go back to Avatar, right? The way they write Azula like is very like, obviously she's not scary to us, obviously, but to characters she is very like, you know, crazy.
She's insane. Yeah.
She's insane, right? And I think I mentioned this to you way back in the day that like when they were auditioning for Azula, like the voice actress, all the people they had to voice her, each one of them was yelling their lines, right? And I forgot her name, but you know, the iconic, you know, the girl that voices Azula.
Yeah.
The way that she said her lines were very like calm, like very elegant, like she was not angry, right?
Yeah.
And that's why they chose her, because the way they thought of,
because it's that undertone. It's
that
like
undertone.
that undertone of being crazy, you know? Like Joker has that undertone when he talks. Like this boy is crazy. You know, you can hear it in those type of characters like Homelander, Joker, Azula. Like they speak with, like they speak calmly, but you can hear the crazy, you know, deep down.
I think it's also like the way they're just looking at you, like you don't know what they're gonna do next.
Yeah.
They just got them black Air Forces on and like I don't know.
but it goes back to like the dialogue of how a character looks at another character, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously in movies, video games, TV shows, like it's very easy for like an actor to look at a character like very menacingly, right? But when it comes to writing, like it's more difficult to like make them look at another character and not specifically state that they're angry at them, you know?
Yeah.
It takes like a very, like, you gotta be really good at writing that, right? Because you don't want to just say, like, this character looked at this character because very angrily, you know? You gotta add the sauce, you know what I mean? But now that we talked about villains, let's talk about heroes. Like, character development within heroes.
I already have one in my mind.
You do? Okay, let's start off with you, then we'll go off with Simon.
Okay. I was gonna talk about Damien. Why is there silence? Nah, because
Damien's not a good hero, no.
He's okay.
Nah, you don't even know nothing about him, bro. You don't even know nothing.
I just know that
nothing.
he's okay.
No, he's not.
That's why he's not.
Okay,
Why?
Simon can't talk anything because you don't know nothing about superheroes.
You just like...
Yeah, he just mic right
He's
now.
literally in Batman's shadow.
Okay, Why? That's actually so funny.
Well, he's his son.
Why is Damian Wayne a good hero?
Okay, let's think back, like back then, right? Like when Damien was first introduced, he literally like his first, not like his first full
Appearance?
panel
Oh, okay.
was him trying to kill Tim Drake because he was Robin, and he felt that he had the air, like he felt that he needed to be Robin because he was biologically, you know, Batman's son, and like, and he carried that kind of like ego with him. Throughout how he aged, he kind of felt like he was better than everybody. He saw himself higher than everybody. He was like, oh no, like whoever, if I'm not, you know, the next Batman, then no one can be the next Batman because that is my birthright, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of had like an ego to him. There's some scenes in the comics, which also brings up good dialogue too, but there's some scenes where Damien is actually vulnerable. And it's mostly with animals where he first shows it, where he... Don't laugh! Okay, well, I wish I could bring it to the panel, but the service is bad in here. But it's basically like he's killing off a bunch of dragons. I don't know how to call them. They're not dragons, but they're like beasts that are dragons. But then there's a baby left. Just one baby, you know? And then, damn, that's gonna make me cry. But he looks at the baby and he says like, fight me. He tells the baby to fight him. He's like, fight me, fight for your family who I just killed, right? And then the little baby just licks his nose. And then he starts crying because he feels the weight of...
We're getting someone crying in this episode.
He feels the weight of his air on his back, you know? Because, first of all, he comes from a side where they're amazing assassins. You know, he has to carry that. His other side of his family, they're incredible assassins.
Yeah.
He was literally kind of genetically built to be a good assassin.
Yeah.
Then he has his dad, where his dad is a good guy, you know, Batman,
Debatable.
like he saves Gotham all the time, you know. But anyways, talking about character development, basically he grows up, he ends up growing up, you know, he has more friends, more family, and he feels that like he's not alone, basically. He ends up knowing that he's not alone in all of this, you know, like not everybody carries their weight in the Bat family, and they're all family. They can all lean on each other, and it takes him a while to learn that people actually care for him out there, and they're not against him.
Like his mom.
And yeah, and how he's felt it. Well, no, not his mom. His mom put a bounty on him. I was gonna say like not everybody's against him like his mom. I was gonna say that, right?
Okay.
You pretend like his mom is on his side. No, but he like there's actual people that love and care for him out there. He wasn't just something that was born to be pushed out there and be like, go be the greatest. We're not gonna help you, but just go do it. He actually gets to learn like what love and family is. Yeah, that's why I think Damien's pretty good.
Okay.
Like, sometimes the writers fuck him up, but he's still the best to me.
All right.
I tell him, like, half of the time.
While Deanna composes herself, Simon, what do you think makes a good hero?
My personal favorite hero would be maybe like Iron Man. That'd be a good hero. Even though he's like a smart guy and he has so much money, he's still like the definition of a hero. Like what he did in Endgame is the most iconic thing in the Avengers series, and he saved like the entire world from Thanos, one of the hardest people to fight.
Iron Man, he did such a selfless act from starting off as like a selfish person.
Then becoming selfless.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
He
basically
called it back right
sacrificed
there.
himself.
What's a quality you think a good hero needs to have, like in terms of writing?
Something a hero needs to have is like compassion for the people. Even though I don't think Batman has compassion, he's still one of the greatest heroes. And well, Batman is his own story. He has that aura, you know.
Yeah.
Oh God. All these auras right now.
He's got that aura. No, but he's right though. Like
Batman and all of them has one of the most auras.
God.
But he's got a point though. Like yeah, whether or not Batman's methods are, you know, was he actually a hero? The way that he cares for like Gotham, that makes him makes him a hero. You know, like
True.
no one is going out in the middle of the night fighting Joker or like Scarecrow. I think you took the words right out of her mouth, like when you talked about Damian Wayne. You know, because dialogue, the character development, where he's grown as a character, right? And like in comic books, you never want to keep your characters stale, you know?
Yeah.
Because they'll get boring over time, you know? Like,
Well, I was gonna say that's the thing that's been happening with Superman, you know? Like, people kind of don't know how to write Superman. Well, from what I've...
From what we've seen, yeah.
From what I'm seeing, people don't know how to write a godlike figure.
Mm-hmm.
Human, you know? So, that's why Superman has become so stale.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't know what to do with that. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you can find ways to be relatable with Superman,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
You need to master that skill in order before you put it into execution, right? Writers, they always want to take these big steps before they've even taken the baby step, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can't go from, like, writing some small-time comic book hero to then being like, I want to be given the duty of writing the next Superman movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to earn that, you know?
Yeah.
And you got to prove it, you know? And that takes, you know, you got to prove on your own. Like, try to make the characters that you were given, you know, into heroes, into villains,
Yeah.
like, write them good and all that type of stuff. What do you think makes a bad character development?
What?
What is it? I'm gonna use Echo I'm gonna use from the show. I'm gonna use Echo from the show Echo, right? The way that they write Echo, what was the point? You know, like what was her character arc? What did she go through? What did she learn? What did my guy learn? you
Yeah.
know? Like if you can't make your character go through a journey, like what was the point of them starting them off in a journey? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the character's end goal? You know?
I wanted to ask Simon, like, is there a bad character that you can think of?
No, I can't think of no bad character. I think of like
Mediocre?
maybe like unuseful. Like, why'd you put that in there?
Useless characters, basically. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, just like for another character, it's like you don't really need them. You just have them there.
That's
you know
good.
what? You know what I was gonna say too. This goes back to comic book. Getting fridged. You know what that statement is?
No.
Okay, so in the comics, remember how Green Lantern had a girlfriend
Mm-hmm.
and that she was killed, but then she was stuffed in a fridge. You know,
Okay.
and the reason why the writers did that is because they wanted Green Lantern to then go after a villain. And so people were all like, so they wrote his love interest just to be a motivator, and people didn't like that because they were just there just to move the plot forward. That kind of goes back to what Simon says too. Like, you write them uselessly. Like, they did not serve a point, or if they did serve a point, it was just to move the plot forward. Just like you as a consumer, I feel like you can identify when the writer is trying to move the plot forward.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like there was, like, this one show where I told you that, where it just felt like that. It might have been Euphoria, to be honest. Because Euphoria could be an episode on its own.
How
Like,
bad
when we
it
talk
is-
about
of how bad it is.
not just how bad it is. Well, I mean, people praise it for being pretty good. Because I thought the first season was pretty good.
Not the second season. Though.
Not the second
Not
season. The
definitely.
second season fell apart. The dialogue was weird. Things were going everywhere. And yeah, I feel like Euphoria might be one of those, like, characters. Like, they might have one character where it's like,
Character
why are you
assassinations.
here?
Character
And-
assassinations, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's always.
It could be Kat
Oh,
from
definitely.
Euphoria.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the way they started her story, it's like, okay, this could have been inspiration to a couple girls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that, like, you know, start off, like, insecure. But then they find their beauty, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then she just ends up being, like,
They dropped the ball.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to describe it, guys, but if you've seen, like, that one scene in the season 2 Euphoria, it's an awkward and bad scene. Like, why did she have to do that? Why
It's
is that
the
in
Ethan
the
scene,
scene?
right? It's the Ethan.
Yeah, it's the Ethan scene when they break up.
Yeah, like it's like I hate that. You know, when you have such potential, like Euphoria with the first season of Euphoria, they had potential to take these characters places. You know,
Yeah.
like relapsing. Like each character like had their own faults and like where they were gonna go through. And then when you transition to season 2, like you're like, okay, where is this gonna go? Right? I think I told you this. Like with the first episode, Rue, like at the end of season 1, Rue decides to break up with Jules. Right?
Yeah.
First episode of the second season, Rue tells Jules again, like, oh, I'm not getting back together with you. And then 10 seconds later, she immediately gets back together with him. And it's just like, oh, what was the point? It was
Yeah.
useless. Wasted 10 seconds of my life.
Yeah, it was just for the season to end to be like, oh, it's so emotional, and then they get back.
And it was a mess. Like,
Yeah.
season 2 was a mess. Like, because no one knew where they were going. A lot of characters just started to act out of character. And a lot of people can just identify, like, where, like, it was just going nowhere, you know?
Yeah, and it's like what you said, like, when you're writing a character, you really gotta, like, be like, you know, gotta plan it out, kind of, like, what's their purpose, you know? Even if they're a side character, too. Like, what's their purpose? What are they gonna hold? What's their personality? Don't just end up making it random, like, halfway.
I think the three rules when it comes to like writing, I think characters and side characters, main characters worked, right? Is that how are they introduced? What's their arc? What's their story? And finally, how are they gonna end? You know, because as much as we want these characters to live on and like in all these types of stuff, a story has to come to an end. You know, and again, like I think this full circle right here, talking about Breaking Bad, right? Like the way they end with Walter White is like it's beautiful. It makes sense. Like he got what he got, right?
Yeah.
But it always makes me laugh that there are these theories where like they're like Walter didn't die, he must have lived, you know. And I think there's this one. Video I saw on YouTube. It's like a fake trailer where it's like, oh, Breaking Bad 2, like Walter's alive, you know that. And all these people want Walter to be alive, but I think Vince Gilligan had said like, no, Walter's story is done. And he's also said before that like the story of Breaking Bad, like it's finished for now at least. He has no other ideas of where he can go with the story. Everything's characters has finished, you know. Like there's no need to continue the story. And I feel like nowadays where like companies are like wanting to like continue franchises and stuff like that, they don't know when to end, you know.
Yeah.
And it gets stale. And I'm trying to think of a movie where we're like it just should have stopped. The only thing that comes to mind is like Wonder Woman 84.
Oh,
where like the entire movie, it's like this just shouldn't have existed in the first place, because like the first movie, like it was decent, you know.
It was decent.
But then
decent for introduction.
Yeah, but then the second movie introduces a lot of things where we're just like, it does not make any sense, you know?
Yeah, that movie was very random. Yeah, but you gotta put something out to make money or something. That's what people's mindsets are now. Quantity over quality.
Exactly.
You know?
And it goes back to like the MCU.
Oh God.
of how much they're putting out, you know? But yeah, I think, and if you are gonna bring back a character, they have to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
You know? With the newest Deadpool movie, right? They're bringing back Wolverine, right? But I think that it's been hinted that it's not the same Wolverine from the Logan X-Men universe.
Yeah, it's a different one.
It's a different one.
Well, they say it in the trailer where it's like, it's a Wolverine that let his whole universe down.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, like, okay, yeah, it's fine you brought it back, but, I think now the question after when the movie comes out is like, okay, where's this character gonna go, you know? And is it gonna ruin the whole Logan timeline, all this like that? So it's always careful to be bringing back characters.
And that's what we were talking about last episode.
Of what?
Where did White Vision go? What was the purpose of bringing in White Vision? Like, what did he serve?
You know what's funny? Talking about White Vision, they announced a show for him.
No way.
They did. It's called Vision Quest. It's coming out in like...
Okay, so he's out there.
He's out there.
Okay, well, never mind then. You scratch that, I guess.
We solved that. We solved the arc.
We solved the Vision arc.
We solved the Vision
the
arc.
Question.
Any more closing thoughts on like character development and dialogue?
Simon.
Yes, Simon. You got any
Oh,
closing thoughts?
I was gonna say that from the bad people, like
POV.
yeah, something bad that they put and like that killed the Avengers was like too much catering to their younger audience. Like,
What do you mean?
What do you mean by that?
they make like kid jokes or something. Like,
What do you mean? Which one?
It's kid friendly, right?
yeah, kid friendly, and like I don't know, maybe it's like from what in the beginning what we said was like too much Gen Z like slang in there.
Oh, are you talking about like the newest generation, like Kate Bishop and the Marvel girl?
I see what you mean.
Well, I mean, like we said, like it's kind of like movies try to cater to like, oh, the generation is moving on, but we just want things to be normal, you know?
Yeah.
But I think what I've heard something is that if you try to appeal to someone, you're not going to appeal to everyone.
Yeah, well, it's like, why are you trying to cater a certain audience if everybody wants to like it?
Whenever an author wants to cater towards someone, they're not going to appeal to anyone, because then in the world we live in now, where the internet's so accessible, like everyone's going to be at each other's throats, and it's a whole mess just to think about, you know. But yeah. With you, Diana, what are your closing thoughts as well?
Don't write a character bad.
Do not write a character back. Indeed. I think that's how we should end it off.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah. So okay, next episode. I don't know. What should we talk about next episode?
They'll have to find out.
That is
They'll
true.
have to find out.
They'll have to
don't
find
know
that. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But yes. Thank you everyone for listening to the Occam's Razors Untitled podcast. I think that's the official name of the podcast. So yeah. So I just have to let Savannah know that's the official title now. Thank you for listening, and excuse Simon's bopping. But thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.